Welcome to the PJ Finance Show.
Today we will discuss politics and fiscal policy.
Glad to see you again, Joe. That bridge last week almost gave me a heart attack.
Yeah, but the drink you paid for definitely worth the fright.
I think you'll be the last one to survive in a zombie apocalypse because you'll go ask the zombie for food.
Nope. I'll take over the apocalypse world and rule my own food supply chain.
Talking about ruling the world, I remember something I'd researched on before.
What was it?
It's about how politics relate to fiscal policy.
I see. Fiscal policy comes from the government. It does connect to politics indeed.
To talk about how politics connects to fiscal policy, it is compulsory to understand the political background. It is the political background that creates the mindset for the voters to select who they want to vote for, and whoever is elected will be deciding on fiscal policy.
It is shown in this chart that the blue line, which is top 0.1% of the U.S. household wealth, has been showing a very steady rise. Will they be owning more and more of the country's total wealth while the bottom 90% share of wealth is declining?
It is a difficult concept to grasp. The inequality is happening not only in the U.S. but also many emerging economies. We need to pay attention because at the extreme this can create a massive shift in the political structure and in turn, a massive shift in fiscal policy. The majority of the voters who feel worse off will want to vote for people who can help them to be less unhappy.
Yes. A wide rich-poor gap will limit aggregate demand and potential GDP because the loss of consumption by the 90% cannot be offset by the increased spending from the top 0.1%.
Jeffrey Sachs' chart shows that the country evolved through stages from pre-commercial to commercial, then to industrial and knowledge over time.
During the industrial period, it is certain that there were a lot of factory jobs. However, the amount of jobs decreases when it reaches the knowledge period.
Why is that happening?
If a company were to get more IT involved in the production, less manpower is needed. The new positions will require new skill sets. This is the time where political background and fiscal policy is important to help those who are unemployed while they undergo a transition to acquire new skills.
Let's discuss the impact of quantitative easing. The collateral effects of QE are wealth distribution, resource misallocation and asset bubbles. The wealth distribution leads to a higher inequality because the key impact of QE is to boost up asset prices, especially stocks.
And the people who own stocks are the people who have money. That is why it worsens the inequality. While companies are using lower interest rates to borrow money to buy back their own stock, it increases leverage. If the borrowed money is not used to build new factories, then there's not an increase in productivity.
For asset bubbles, it is a financial cycle that will go through boom and bust. All of these lead to lower potential GDP, and the right answer would be reform and fiscal policy.
RBA Governor Lowe says that monetary policy can't drive long-term growth, and that relying on monetary policy risks further increases in asset prices in a slowing economy, which is an uncomfortable combination.
However, it is the same thing happening again and again. People who don't own stocks see the absence of reform and the inability to create a higher potential GDP for the country. It means less jobs, less wage gains.
When the economy is strong, the unemployment rate drops and wages increase. Companies will think about using IT and outsourcing to prevent further increases in wage gain.
So this all contributes to the political background where we have 90% of the people getting less share of the country's wealth.
Are these fiscal policies short-term in nature? Or are they able to tackle the political landscape? The bottom 90% is angry, and that leads to a bias towards populism.
Then populism leads to policies that would encourage protectionism, fiscal stimulus and geopolitical risks. Eventually these will create a financial repression.
Now I see why it is important to understand how politics are heavily connected to fiscal policy, which in turn affect the economy and stock market.
With financial repression, interest rates are kept too low for too long. That in turn creates asset inflation and CPI inflation.
Now I understand why we have this surge in inflation now, and with so much liquidity in the financial system, the Fed will have to reserve QE.
Yep, and that is QT, quantitative tightening.
Wow. But let's go buy some food before prices go up.
Thank you for watching.
This presentation on politics and fiscal policy is brought to you by the PJ Finance Show.